to another mum, a mum whose story will inspire each and every one of us to start talking about postnatal depression. She's lived it, she's conquered it, she started her own jewellery design business, and her mission is to help other women. Please welcome Valeska Dominguez.
Natalie, I'd like you to come back up on the stage. You cannot leave without your own Mother's Day gift.
Oh!
Happy Mother's Day. I'm going to speak up because I know it's a little bit hard to hear at the back, and I've never been one to shy away from the microphone. Thank you, girls. You are unbelievable, and I've cried and laughed and kicked and screamed during your book, and thank you. It's wonderful. It's going to touch so many people. My love of babies has been with me all my life. At the age of 5, I told my mother I was unable to attend school that day as I was waiting for my baby to arrive. And 20 years later, he did. After a wonderful pregnancy, I've actually never felt better in my life, and loved having the baby bump too, as it made the rest of my body look beautifully in proportion to my thighs. My skin glowed, my nails grew, my hair looked fabulous. I had that whole 7-piece stretchy suit thing going on that was really in 10 years ago. Life was really good. I was also the first out of all of my friends to have a baby, and I was basking in the attention, loving being the authority on how you can still look fabulous and pregnant. They were all soaking it up, waiting for their turn. It all looked like so much fun. Work was wonderful too, and why shouldn't it be? I was on this huge hormonal high. I was having it all. I was Mother Superior. I don't exactly know when the penny dropped, but it was somewhere between us moving into a big house with a really big mortgage, building the marketing strategy for my husband's corporate liquor business, working as a graphic designer on 9-week deadlines for House & Garden, Vogue and Country Style, all at the same time, and having my head down the toilet with the pregnancy of my second child. My glow had somewhat faded. The first thing to go was the ability to get through the washing. It never ceased. I felt like I never actually got anywhere, just like painting the Harbour Bridge. You start at one end, and then when you get to the other, you're ready to go back. There was no job satisfaction, no one was congratulatory after the fact I'd finished, there were no bonuses offered. Where were my friends when they needed them? Well, they were off at work, weren't they? They were getting paid a lot for doing very little as far as I was concerned. Having everyone treat them with respect and courtesy. No one was chucking up on their blouse at lunchtime and screaming, "I hate you!" at the top of their lungs in the office and beating their head on the floor with a soggy crusket. I actually don't understand how there's not a 100% success rate at PND amongst all mothers. I find anyone who didn't suffer from it to be completely strange. I don't know anyone who can work under those conditions. I certainly couldn't. So as I slipped into anonymity, that's a really hard word for me to say, spending my days hanging out in parks and passing out miniature Vegemite sandwiches and chatting mindlessly about how many feeds I was down to, I felt myself slip slowly down into Alice's rabbit hole. I couldn't sleep. In fact, for some reason, I became afraid of sleep, and I still don't know why. So after watching TV all night and passing out on the couch at daybreak, I couldn't stay awake the next day past 10. Going in and out of naps all day with the children, making it only as far as the kitchen to make some more toast or grab another jar of baby food off the pantry shelf. Before long, James, my beautiful husband, would leave work for 7:30 in the morning, and I wouldn't bother getting out of bed at all. It wasn't until my little girl was 6 months old and my son was now 2 that my life had completely crumbled into a state of disrepair, most of which had gone unnoticed by my friends and family, not through lack of care, simply how cleverly I had disguised my anguish. With constant panic attacks about something as ridiculous as having friends over for a cup of tea, to then having 5-hour hysterical crying fits, which were only interrupted by the phone ringing, where I would clear my throat and answer it, sounding completely normal. "Hello, hi, how are you? Oh, oh look, I can't chat because, I'm off to lunch with some friends. Actually, that would have been my tubby 2-year-old and my breastfed baby in front of Oprah. And then a quick escape and I'd hang up and the hysteria would continue just where I'd left off. James came home each night to a house full of washing, all lined up in dozens of washing baskets, clean but never making it to the fold and put away stage. So after a full day at work, and he'd begin his night shift of cleaning up the kitchen, putting more loads of washing on, and then deciding what he was going to feed me for dinner. I was completely useless to anyone. Unhealthy thoughts crept into my mind about what a hopeless waste of space I was. I was no longer able to look after my home, which was strange as I'd always been so incredibly anal in my designer little world. My kids were being fed by Mr. Hines 3 times a day, and the guilt for that has never left me because my son is the worst eater still and has a beautiful taste for Perkins paste. And I wasn't working to any kind of schedule, which meant nothing got done. My sister once caught me dropping my son off to childcare in my Paisley Witchery pyjama bottoms and a trench coat because I didn't have to iron that. I tried to convince her that no one would know that I was wearing pyjama bottoms. They looked like groovy lounge pants. Until she told me that they'd been on sale at Brigham Mall last week and every mother now had a pair of those lounge pants except they were wearing them to bed. I'd been sprung. I scared myself one day when I'd spent the morning thinking how I could get my family out of this terrible state that I'd put them in. My mother was now calling me every day asking me, "How are you, darling?" Everyone was worried. I'd lost weight. I lived in a pigsty. My children hadn't left the house in weeks. And my husband was working long hours building a new business and then trying to sort out this dishevelled world at home, at night. How could I get them out of this situation? How could I remove myself from the equation so that James could have a chance for happiness? How could I give him the chance to perhaps remarry a beautiful wife who would look after him and find a wonderful mother to look after my beautiful children who deserve so much more than I could give them? You see, when mothers, just like Gidget, opt out of their lives during PMD, it's not because they're being selfish, which is what all of us have been led to believe. It's not because they don't think that life is worth living for all the pain that they're suffering. It's the complete opposite. You only want to do what you seem to think at that terrible time of depression to be the right thing to do by your family. You only want the best for your husband, you only want the best for your beautiful children, and you want the best for your parents and your siblings, and to give them a break from worrying about you. When you are suffering from PMD, removing yourself from the situation seems like the most selfless thing you can do. But of course, that's the depression talking. So it's this point that I was admitted to hospital. What does one wear when being admitted to a mental hospital? You certainly don't want to go in looking too nice in a fresh linen dress, for example. They might not think you look sick enough. So I finally decided on a pair of ill-fitting track pants and a sad, grey, sloppy top. One that didn't require ironing, of course, and my ever-faithful Uggies. As I filled in the forms in reception at this particularly glamorous private hospital, I found myself rummaging around for a lipstick in my bag, anything to save me from looking like I'd just come from a rave party the night before. Everyone actually looked quite together, which was really disheartening as I didn't want to be the worst one there. They were moving from yoga to art classes to group therapy. It was all very nice, really, and I immediately asked James to pack some better outfits because I might make some friends and I can't look like this. So James had arranged a private room with my own TV and video, and I was starting to think that this could be the holiday that I just needed. The golden door, but with drugs. My doctor had suggested that perhaps a week of rest would get me back on track. Well, 6 weeks later, a cocktail of drugs and 5 prepared meals a day under my belt, I left the hospital stabilised, fat, and bordering on comatose. Hard to believe, but true. Over the course of a year, I was put on a variety of drugs to calm me, to relax me, to get me to sleep and not get too excited. The lights were on, but Elvis had definitely left the building. I even started to look like him and had put on 25 kilos. Now, girls, if that's not enough to make you depressed, then I don't know what is. Old friends would have to look twice in the street when they'd recognise me, only to say, "Oh, wow, you look great, you look really healthy," which actually means, "Oh my God, she's huge. She's really let herself go." If they only knew. But I'm not going to give you any more gloom, because after 4 years of depression and revisits to the Golden Door with drugs, I realised for me that I had to step up and make a stand. I had to reclaim my life and to show the world I was not ready to give in. I had big plans for my future, and I wasn't going to get there in a size 16 moo-moo. I was going to claw my way out of this well of despair and show these doctors who they were dealing with. I am woman, hear me roar. With the guidance of my specialist, I slowly came off my 5 medications a day, and over the course of 3 months lost the entire 25 kilos, and so that my mother thought I was anorexic, which was very flattering, but I wasn't. And I started to walk every day, do yoga twice a week. I took up surfing, I started art classes. I gave myself a strict schedule that gave me absolutely no time for self-pity. James started to smile again. The kids were finally brought to school before 10 a.m, which was really wonderful, since the Christian studies teacher used to give me death stares every morning. And our little family started to rebuild itself. There is more to this story, with a 6-month trip that took our kids all across America in a Winnebago, but that's for the 60-minute special that I want to do. Where it all ends up is with my husband and I forming a company that will support and give opportunity to women, not only the depressed ones, who are not in a position to find work and therefore self-worth with a formal working institution requiring long, unflexible hours due to family commitments. I designed a range of jewellery that links together with a patented sterling silver sister grip. It allows you to custom design your own jewellery, and it helps define you and your personal style. And due to the nature of the product, it needs to be demonstrated, and it requires a unique level of service that only our team of Valeska stylists can offer. As a finalist in the Australian Jewellery Design Awards last year, my socks were knocked off my socks were knocked off. And it was only surpassed by winning the HIA Housing Design of the Year award last year for the home I designed for my little family on the Northern Beaches. If you told me 5 years ago that I'd be capable of achieving these things, I wouldn't have believed anyone. But that's the lesson here. We need to help women get through those first few years and have the courage and strength to persevere, because we are all capable of such amazing things. As far as I'm concerned, I've only just begun. I have high hopes for my business and my life, and the wonderful women who have joined our company to make a huge success of their lives. We are proudly donating 25% of all the sales made today to the Gidget Foundation, and it's the beginning of a long and hopefully financially fulfilling relationship that the Valeska company will have with the Gidget girls, as they're so fondly known. All the Mother's Day pieces sold today include the Gidget flower, which was designed especially for this day. It's to remind us of how we all come together, and to remind us that as mothers we are the cornerstone of every family and deserve to be nurtured and adorned in very pretty things. So thank you for the opportunity to share my experiences with you and blubbing at you. And I hope that by opening my heart, you might be able to help someone else that you think is in need of a friend. Thank you.
Melissa, thank you for your honesty. It was an amazing story, and I think we can all relate to it in some way, can't we? We know why we're here today. Have a cup of